Did you steal millions?
He was unwilling to leave, and I was unwilling to then go home. I also wanted to have then my own place and all of that stuff. So then I went into our accounts and I took what I believed was mine. You know, when you build your life around someone, you don't ever anticipate a breakup. And when the breakup comes, it's so painful, you'll do anything to take it away. You know, if my friend said, "Oh, I saw your person with so and so, Izolo," that person was out of my life.
I'm trying my best not to be starstruck today.
Sugar.
And have a normal conversation that has impact and it'll touch certain virtues of people's lives. So there's something I want to try, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to continue because I know my strengths and my weaknesses.
Okay.
Ngithi kudala
Oh,
ngizula.
Nkosi yami. I didn't see that coming.
So you can continue?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Awuqale futhi sengiprepared
Ngithi
manje.
kudala ndizula ndifuna njengawe.
Daddy of my baby, you are my number one, baby.
Oh yes, my childhood was real. Thank you so much, Sister Tumi.
Thank you for having me, Lungelo.
How's your heart today?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's a Friday.
Yeah.
I'm waking up to have a shoot and a great conversation with you.
Sure.
Later on, I'm performing. It's how life's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It hasn't always been this way, though. We spoke earlier before we started this conversation that there was a season where you just decided to disappear.
Yeah.
This happiness, you've had to work on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hibernation. You know, when you build your life around someone, you don't ever anticipate a breakup. And when the breakup comes, it's so painful, you'll do anything to take it away. So him coming back was like, phew, he's realized the error of his ways. He realizes that I'm the one.
I'm the be-all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for that first month, he's doing everything he said that he would to fix it. And then we go back to default settings, you know, and then we're back there again. The conflict starts again, you break up again. It's painful. Then you go back. And also, your family, society is going, what do you mean? Ufunani? You guys have success, you have this, you have that.
Live in a mansion,
people respect
cars,
you.
yeah.
I mean, you travel the world. Like, what else do you want?
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, yeah, Mara, so all men do that. Yeah, but he lied to me. All men lie. What do you mean? At least I at least how trappy. At least, you know what I mean? So it's like people take the worst example
to nullify your reality and your pain.
Exactly. So for a long time, I think I did it for people. I did it for the respect. I did it for, we have a power couple, you know. We are the example. And also out of my mother went through a divorce. I'm not, you know, it's not going to be our family legacy. So I'm going to succeed at this. I will not fail. So each time I got back in, I came with that mentality or ethos or determination. I'm going to make it work this time.
Yeah. You were together for how many years?
16.
16 years. So when the publications were trying to rip your name apart, it was the year 16. I think it was 2019.
Yeah.
When they were having a field day with your name.
Yeah.
16 years. Sure. I would understand why after 16 years you would be like, Gege phela. Lomshada ufiki. You know?
Well, I mean, he did come to my home. They did send a letter, you know, ukuthi bazokhipha amalobolo and all of that.
Which year? Year number?
Do I remember?
14. Not for 14.
Angsakhumbuli. I think it was between my two pregnancies.
Okay.
Yeah, so at that point, I at least felt like, okay, this
We're
is
going
happening.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah,
are.
yeah.
But unfortunately, we lost his mom.
Okay.
And then we had to give the family time to grieve. And then I think 2 years or so after, we lost his father. And then we had to give the family time to grieve as well. It was a very challenging time for the family and us.
You again defining your life by his standards.
Yes. And then, yeah, and then once all of that kind of died down, I think what started rising inside me was a sort of resentment, which I obviously directed towards him, even though now in retrospect, it wasn't necessarily his doing, you know? He did his best to be my person. We built all of the things that we built, and it meant for me, I willingly sacrificed and compromised some of my ambitions and my dreams so that the family could thrive. So now the resentment of not being able to live in my purpose started coming up. And that's when the point of no return came, because there was just so much bitterness inside me. I think I just became an ugly person because.
Probably even in your conduct towards him.
And towards other people. I mean, you can imagine now we have a record company, we have buildings, we have a production house, we have a staff of people that I'm supposed to manage, and I'm in this dark, ugly state, you know. Obviously, I'm walking in. I'm not motivated to work. I'm sitting in the boardroom wishing I could be on set acting. I'm sitting in a meeting with the accountants, busy with contracts and budgets, when I want to be recording music, you know? So I think the choices that I made, it was easier for me to not look at myself and look at him and be like, yeah, because of you, I'm not doing the things that I want to do, and you're getting to do the things that you want to do. And by the time I was in that space, there was nothing he could say to quell the fire, you know. I think I just needed to self-actualize, which is something I never gave myself the opportunity to do. I went straight from listening to my mom and dad and my teachers to now listening and collaborating with him, and my own internal conflict was like, okay, girl, who are you? What do you want? You know, and you know your body knows your purpose, so you are in that constant internal fight. Yeah, and then once I exploded, I was like, who am I? And yeah, I changed my number and packed up the kids and went back home.
What's an explosion? What does it look like?
For me, it was crying. It was just being rebellious, you know, knowing that we have a pitch at 8 o'clock today and everyone needs the presentation by 10 o'clock last night.
Sure.
And at 7:30, I'm still busy with it, you know. Just being rebellious. All the things that my father, or I know he would not appreciate, or the pillars that we believed our relationship are built on, for me to just be like, I'm gonna do it, you know. I'm gonna go out all night with my friends. So what? So
because now I can finally have friends. in the rebellion, you're like, no, I'm trying to find myself, so leave me alone. This is what I like to do.
Exactly.
I have all the money to do it.
So I'm going to do what I want to do. You know, we have a pitch that we're all supposed to prepare for, that the staff is sitting in the boardroom waiting for me. And I'm like, no, I took a voiceover, or I'm going to an audition. And it's like, he'd be like, are you okay? This pitch is gonna set us up for whatever. This is so many millions. And balo patala bakaiko voiceover 1.2 thousand. Like
the petrol to go there
like
is 1.2.
Like renaledi bond, renaledi expense. Why are you not using your head? And those kinds of conversations, even though I realized he was being productive, I just wasn't accepting. It was like, yeah, you're trying to control me. You're trying to tell me what to do, you know. And I think at the time, or how I reason it to myself now, is that he saw my potential, because out of all of the people that we were working with, I was the one who could quickly understand and pick up contracts or management of the business, or how to put together a budget, how to pitch, all of those kinds of things, which he thought were invaluable, you know. So he encouraged me to be that boss producer or boss managing director, and, you know, be the next like Forbes influencer millionaire, where I'm just like, cha, mina ngifuna ukuba uBeyonce, ngifuna ukucula, ngifuna uku-actor, like, you know what I mean? And he'd be like, yeah, you'll get a role, like, let's just get to this milestone and this milestone. But it felt like the goalposts kept moving.
The more shifting.
The more we became successful, the more the business needed me to be hands-on, because now it was multiple projects, multiple this, multiple people.
Telenovela here, drama series there.
You see, and the only person he trusted was me to look after the money, to look after the people and the business. And we are sitting making decisions about who's going to be the brand ambassador for the next campaign that we're doing with BP. And they're like, oh, on the table, Renale Judy, Thilili, Ralemang. And I'm like, my name should be there. Why is my name not there? You know, we're putting together a concert for whatever AIDS campaign, and the artist lineup. And I'm like,
my name.
We are casting for lockdown, and I'm like,
hello.
You know, so it just felt like, even though I know he was doing what was best for the company and for the family, it was not what was best for me. And not because he was necessarily out to oppress me, I think, because I had met him when I was so young and so happy that someone else wanted to take the lead. When I'm young and indecisive and brokenhearted that my dad's left me and my mom, and someone is willing to take on the reins, and, you know, I don't have to be the one to make the choice and then possibly fail. I can just hang on to his coattails. So that's the way our relationship had been for a long time. And he was just continuing the way he's always been. But now I was like, no, I want to make a decision. No, I don't agree. But even if, you know, even if I'm disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing, I was in that space. So I suppose we left because of irrecoverable differences.
I'll push you for the last time. We wake up one morning, afternoon, in the era of Sunday newspapers. Thank God that's over.
Thank God.
We wake up one morning and clearly they didn't do their research, because they wrote divorced for, and it wasn't a divorce. They said, Tumi Masemola leaves with millions and is being sued because she stole millions from her husband. Did you steal millions?
Well, I wouldn't say I stole, but I wanted to leave, and he still wanted to work things out.
Okay.
And in my stubborn era, I was like, I'm not going to sit here and work things out. You're either going to leave me and the children, or I'm leaving. And he was unwilling to leave, and I was unwilling to then go home. I also wanted to have then my own place and all of that stuff. So then I went into our accounts and I took what I believed was mine,
That you'd worked for.
which was 50%. And
50. Like, let's say the business has 20 million, you're like, buy, withdraw 10, gone. Yo.
and of course, we had a hernia and a cow.
Rightfully so. It's a business account. You can't just do that, right? Yeah. No, fair.
There's processes and
Sure,
procedures.
sure.
And then, of course, court time came, and what happened in that time? Oh my gosh. By the time court time came, oh yeah, because we had been a romantic partnership, there was no shareholders agreement. There was no my managing director appointment letter or how long I had been, all of those things. So I couldn't provide any of that paperwork.
As backup.
So then it was like, yeah, you could have been Icheriake and now Funitati Zintozaki. Like, it doesn't work like that, ma'am. Yes, your name is there in the CIPC business, but where's A, B, C, D, E, F, G? And I didn't have all of that stuff. So all my accounts were frozen, that money was put back, and yeah, I went to live with mom.
Sure. You definitely sound like, even though all of that happened, you guys are in a very good co-parenting space.
Yes.
Listening to the level of respect you keep on giving him in explaining your story, because obviously your story involves him a lot, especially those years of your story. Obviously, it's different now.
Yes.
When did you get to that point where you were like, I'm tired of fighting you? We may not be together, but let's stop fighting.
I think it was about 4 or 5 years into our separation.
4 years separated. Sure, that's a long, draining fight.
Yeah, there was a lot to fight about. You can imagine we had built so much together.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to feel scorned. And it's very easy to feel like, well, I gave you the best years of my life. You owe me, and be caught up in that anger. And I think that's where I was. But once I started letting go of the anger and focused more on stabilizing the emotional well-being of our children, is when I realized, because there's so much of him in them. And I obviously... But I obviously love them wholeheartedly, and I began to see all of the things that I loved about him in them, and realized that there is no way I can be so angry at their father whose blood runs through their veins and have a good relationship with them and build good, wholesome girls, especially because with my parents' divorce, my mother took a stance, Uguti, there'll be no co-parenting, what. It doesn't make sense for you are living here, there's my rules, and then you're going there and there's those rules and I didn't know that at the time, but when I found out through conversations, I actually grew bitter, because for the longest time I was mourning my father, thinking he left me and wanted to have nothing to do with me, whereas it was actually a decision made by mom
to alienate him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And once I'd realized all of the dis-ease it had created inside me and inside my life, I decided I don't want that for my children.
Yeah.
So I think understanding that from my mother then made me see that actually, if I'm holding on to that anger the way I saw my mother had been, I will end up like my mother. I'll end up with my 30-something-year-old child coming back to my house with their kids, and it's my problem. And I was like, no, I don't want those problems. Sure. I want healthy human beings who are decisive, who can make healthy choices, and really build a successful life for themselves. So once I put that focus into them, it made it easy for me to firstly forgive myself, and then forgive him, and then reach out to say, let's sit down, let's talk, let's recognize all the wonderful things that we have actually achieved together. And for me to change my perception, instead of, I gave you all the best years of my life and you didn't even marry me, actually, those were the best years because he was there, because he pushed me to do things I never imagined I was capable
Absolutely.
of. I always thought I would sing and perform. Yeah, that's something I've been doing since I was a baby.
Yeah.
But I never thought I would run a company.
Build an empire, literally.
Exactly. Run a family, be a managing director, a television producer who's formidable, who can mentor, who can put together a budget from concept all the way to post-production. I had picked up all of those skills, all of that leadership, because he believed in me so much, because he was like, babe, do you know how smart you are? If that guy can do it, So then I was like, wow, he actually pushed me to be phenomenal. And once then I got into that space of gratitude and changing the perception, I think then he was able to then relate with me again. Now we're here.
What's happening in that meeting?
Which meeting?
The meeting that says, I've realized rather, that I need to operate from a place of gratitude. I've changed my perception of you. I've forgiven myself. I've forgiven you. I've used healthy methods to heal, be it therapy, isolation, faith. But now let's have a meeting, a reconciliation meeting in its truest form. How does that meeting go about? Are we sitting at Salvation Cafe somewhere? Does it need family because things are still sensitive? Like, how does a meeting like that happen? I think this is an educational moment for people who are struggling to get to that point right now, who are in separations or divorces. And there's still a lot of turmoil between them.
Sure. We met at a restaurant. Excuse me. Because I think it was important for us to meet at a neutral space.
Sure.
But before the meeting took place, I think I gave him the space to have a relationship with his children outside of myself, where I gave him carte blanche. If he's like, I want to pick up the girls whenever, it wasn't about, well, the lawyer said. And the settlement agreement is.
Yes.
The minute I started allowing that to be fluid, I think he then became also more open towards me.
I hear you.
And then my conduct also had to change, Before it was like, mawufuna abantwana bakho phone my mother, or you know what I mean? Exactly. Whereas now it was like, okay, you want that I will communicate, and it would be a thank you and a good morning. And so my language started changing. So it made him more receptive towards me, so that when I initiated us meeting, he knew it wasn't going to be
fight.
Kish. And then he was trusting enough to come through. And then when we got there and I said what I had to say, I think at first he was like,
what?
He was taken aback.
Yeah.
But the more we spoke and I allowed my emotion to show, I allowed myself to cry in front of him. I allowed myself to be vulnerable. It allowed him to be vulnerable and to be like, and for both of us to just breathe out and cry it out and hug it out and be like, okay, we're going to be okay. It's okay. We accept that it didn't work between us, but it doesn't mean that our relationship was a complete failure. We still have something of value to give to one another, especially as parents. So
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, where's Tumi now? I see that light. I saw it. I actually saw it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Spiritually, it's been a tough one. I obviously had to find other spiritual people who have gone before me to mentor me.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're young, you also go with the mentality of bazongchelan, it's my life. No one knows me better than me. So I allowed other people who had been there before me to give me guidance, and I became open to learning and became a sponge where spirituality was concerned. And once I started understanding myself as a spiritual being with a purpose, it made me understand the conflict and the dis-ease that I had been living with all along. It made me realize how I had not self-actualized, how I was always leaning on collaboration to make a decision and leaning on, outside validation to guide me rather than my own intuition. So I started doing shadow work, journaling. I think I had a few therapy sessions, and I delved in. I'm that kind of person. If I'm doing something, kikena all in.
Yeah.
And that helped me then mentally to be able to get out again. Because for quite some time, I couldn't even go out to go buy bread because someone will tell me about, the people feel like they can just comment on your life without knowing. And I didn't know how to react to that because I had conditioned myself to be a nice girl and sweet and always smiling. So I didn't understand when the newspapers were painting me to not be the person that I knew me to be.
Sure.
And people were reacting, believing that. Then I realized niceness is a myth. As a person, you're supposed to be reasonable, not nice.
Sure.
And as a person, being sweet is actually deceptive, even to yourself, because you are allowing things that you disagree with to happen because you just want to be sweet.
And they perpetuate.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and it also means that you are... It meant I had to face my flaws and see, actually, you're two-faced. In order for me to be sweet to Lungelo and agree with Lungelo, but Lungelo doesn't agree with Kabelo.
Sure.
So that means
I'm being sweet to all of them.
That means
I'm not standing for anything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so that's actually quite two-faced. Then I started seeing what the journalists were writing, what the people were commenting on, and going, okay, if I'm going to listen to them when they say, wow, well done, City Sisla's amazing, you're incredible, I must also listen when they say, Zwane, you are better, you're this, you're that, until such a point where I could go, okay, I'm taking this, I'm not taking that, yes, that's me, no, that's not me, and bring those things together to be the yin and yang of me. I'm not all good. I'm not all nice. I'm not always happy. You know? And when I'm not having a great day, I can say so. When somebody walks up to me and says, wara, 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 I can be like, yo, go sort out your own issues. And if that person doesn't like me after that, that's them. You know? I don't need the whole world to like me. I keep pizza, you know? So I started coming to terms with that, which then started affecting me mentally, to have the mental strength to be decisive, to make friends, to get out, to start my own business again. Yeah, and go for life. And then that in turn healed my heart, or is healing my heart, because it's always healing is a process.
Yeah.
So then that in turn then put at least my heart in a better space to understand that a heart is a muscle. It does get broken, but that's okay. It's me getting fit. You know, it's like when you're going to the gym, your muscles tear or whatever, but you rebuild and you get stronger. So it's not that I'm broken, it's that I'm getting stronger. And now I can look at all of those seasons and phases and emotions as knowledge and value. And, you know, and as you get older, you know, as women, we are made to feel like, yo, so mdala manje, you're almost at menopause. You are depreciating.
Not a car, not depreciation model.
Especially in entertainment, you know. But then I started subscribing to so many women who have just been like, ageism isn't a thing, you know, growing older is
appreciation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a maturity thing.
Yeah.
And still wanting to be in the media and entertainment, all it means is just like look after yourself, look after your body, give yourself some love and self-care, then you will meet the so-called standards of this industry. Okay, I didn't go as extreme as bleaching myself.
Oh no, you didn't just say that.
I like my complexion. You know, for the lead roles, because such things also affect you. Because when I came back, then I was like, yeah, let's do this, you know. All of this experience, a few producers, they're gonna be like, oh, we know her. She can act, she can produce. I'm gonna get a job just like that.
Yeah.
So when I struggled, I was like shocked.
What's going on?
Yeah. And then I realized, oh wow, there's the so-called yellow bone fever, where all the leads in the telenovelas or whatever are light-skinned. And then now,
and followers.
Yeah, like when you get it to an audition, they're like, how many followers do you have? Not as someone who had gone
dead silent.
I guess on Facebook, I cannot Twitter. I only have Instagram with like these many followers. It was like, okay, we'll call you. Don't call us. We'll get back to you. So that dealing with that also was like, oh my gosh, this truly means we are at a phase where we have to be creating and not asking for jobs, and have the patience to believe that your value and your art and your sense of expression will find its audience. It's not my job to find the audience. It's my job just to do the art. And that put me in I believe, a great space that I am now.
We're nearing the end of our conversation, but I have to ask this. Khona madoda at your age and having kids. Because I'm kiyajolega.
Yes. Ne? Yeah, is it a year ago or 2 years ago? I started dating. Gabana my flame. You know, when you're dating someone and then when you think you're getting serious, then you find out they've actually got a serious
an entire
girlfriend.
Family.
And you're like, Ganti.
He was Zulu, ne?
No comment. Then I was like, no, guys. I took to Instagram. I was like, hi, guys. Banglale like a soccer ball when you guys are around. You know, let's start having date nights. I started having date nights, which were lives that I was doing on Instagram, where I'd get boys and girls over the age of 40 to say, as Kulumeni, what are the challenges that we're facing?
Sure.
And how can we teach each other to be better and attract better?
And attract better.
Yes. And in those date nights, what started happening was that instead of it becoming an outside focus and finding the right person to date, it started being about, you must become the right person for yourself. Like, date yourself, love yourself, heal yourself, and then you will attract yourself.
But still, Tumi, let's be honest, ne? In all of the work we do, I'm a person who also does a lot of work on myself.
Yeah.
Or rubbish want the person who's made. And they will pretend to look good for a month.
Yeah.
You know? That's why because they can recognize what
that's a true story.
Yeah.
But then the only way to find your prince is to keep kissing the frogs. There's no other way around it, unfortunately. I don't have any other advice. Even me, myself, you know.
Yeah.
But I think what has helped me a lot in the dating now that then when I started, it was a roller coaster. Whereas now it's more of a plateau because in anyone and everyone who comes into my life,
Yeah.
I'm still the most important person
Sure.
to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because before I realized you self-abandoned because you want to please him and you want to. So now it's like, no, I'm on this path. You're going to fit in or carry on parallel. I'm not going to change my direction. So people come in and fall off, and that's okay.
What's that one thing you know for sure in life and you're absolutely certain of?
I'm for sure that we are spiritual beings, and I'm for sure that your intuition and your subconscious knows everything. Not some things in terms of the decisions that you need to make in life, but everything. I mean, it's like when you were in your mother's womb, you are not going, sing na 6 months, man. Where are my toes? Why is my nose not developing properly? It all happened. Your subconscious and your intuition took care of everything. You came out and one day you were a size 1, the next year you were a size 5. You know, you didn't have to think about it and plan and think and all of these things that the world teaches us to do. You didn't. It just happened. So if you would allow yourself to listen to your body and your subconscious and your intuition and flow, you will live in your purpose and you will be where you're supposed to be.
God is saying, I'm giving you 30 seconds in life to say anything to your daughters. In that camera, what are you saying to them?
To my babies.
Yeah.
Oh, that you girls are my blessing, and I wish you all the best in life, and for you to achieve everything that you wish for. Just be authentic, even if it rubs people the wrong way. Just be authentic. It is the best way to magnetize yourself and attract everything that is yours.
The show is Engineer Your Life. I'm Lungelo, KM Tumi Masemola. It has been an absolute privilege.
Thank you for the
so
therapy
much.
session.
You were warned. You were warned. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Kholwa emandleni onawo. Oh my, we're finally doing this. What does EYL Africa represent? It's about standing in your power. It's about, in isiZulu, it's Kholwa emandleni onawo, which is our tagline. You will see it on the back of my t-shirts. It's about believing in the power that you have, believing in the power that your God, your guides have invested in you. Shop our socks, shop our t-shirt, and yeah, just keep believing in yourself. EYL Africa. Now available on eylshop.africa.